So basically, I think this will probably be the end of streaming and Let's Playing Wargroove 2, because we finished all of the campaigns, which is effectively the main content of it. Conquest mode is the roguelike style stuff, and I based on it being a roguelike, you can't necessarily control what happens during it, you know? Like, it'll have randomly generated items, the missions will be different depending on which commander you do it with and where it starts and so on. So although I haven't seen Conquest mode, and I'll just play it in my off time. But to give my post-game review of the campaign, as I was saying before, I don't think it really matches the standard that Wargroove 1 set. Wargroove 1 really felt like a labor of love for people like we really like turn-based strategy games in the Advanced Wars style, which is the 2D grid-based turn-based strategy. You have units, you have resources, you create units, there's economies you have to think about, and they also crafted a lot of missions. I think there's actually not as many missions in, well, maybe I'm misremembering it, but I thought there weren't as many missions in terms of actual maps to play on in the campaign in Wargroove 2 as there were in Wargroove 1. Which makes sense because in Wargroove 1 there was side missions, whereas here you have different campaigns. I don't know whether you can do the final act without having done, let's say, Rising Tides and Dark Skies, but chances are you do have to do all of them. I don't know, it just felt like the game wasn't as long, or at least there weren't as many maps to actually do. One thing I do appreciate this game doing very well is having more of an actual story to it, as in, you go to a mission that is Act 3, Mission 1, and it's actually just like playable, like, dialogue essentially. You know, you see the movements, you move them on the map, you go and talk to people, but there's not actually any, you know, fighting or strategy to do, it's just fill this out. So that's, I kind of appreciate having more of that, but then that has come at the detriment of actually having playable maps to play on, I think. Or at least it felt like there was a lot less. Again, I might be misremembering how long Wargroove 1 was. The other thing as well is having these different campaigns is nice, because then you can do them in whichever order you feel like. They tell you the difficulty of them as well. But that kind of comes to this one, the final act altogether. It feels very disjointed. It's like Tenri becomes the villain in the second to last mission almost, you know? Like, obviously the Fell Gauntlet and Cacophony, the artifacts and so on, is a running theme throughout all of them, or, well, most of them. It still feels like it wasn't really building up to a grand finale like it was in Wargroove 1. Because in Wargroove 1, you have, obviously there is the initial conflict, which is Felheim have invaded Cherrystone, and you're playing from the perspective of Mercia, so obviously you're following in there, and then you get to explore more of Aurania itself. You've got the Gloomwoods to meet Nuru, Greenfinger. I guess another thing is there was a lack of a recurring antagonist, which is someone like Sedge or Sigrid. I mean, even like the misunderstanding stuff, you know, just having a fight between Cherrystone and Heavensong is like, oh, we can test our strength. And they did that with the Outlaws and... Oh yeah, they had mini-commanders. And the mini-commanders were kind of like the, oh yeah, we're going to do a trial or a test or something. But there wasn't actually any real conflict for the people to solve. Like, or at least if it was Oddvar. There were the Outlaws for the Faahri. And Pistol was kind of the only antagonist because she was like deliberately being misleading to Lytra. But yeah, it just didn't feel like it all came together very well. Like when it came to, so in a prologue, the best thing to do is to introduce people to the mechanics of the game, and I think the prologue should also be introducing the new units. So in the prologue, we only ever played with ground units. You didn't have any flying units, you didn't have any naval units. We only even saw the naval units in Rising Tides, I'm pretty sure, for the riverboats. And that felt like quite late into the game itself. It'd be like, yeah, here's a third of the entire units you can use, but it's, you know, we haven't even introduced them yet. So it feels a bit late. But on the other hand, I do really like the changes that they did make, you know? Having Krakens and riverboats do change up how you approach the missions. But you only ever get to play one mission with a Kraken. So it's like, well, I've got the thing of getting bonus stars with the critical hits and things, but that's the only mission I can do it on. So I can't play with Krakens in any other thing, other than obviously Conquest mode, which I haven't tried yet. But yeah, I don't know. I think the original Wargroove game was developed by Chucklefish, as in published by Chucklefish and developed by Chucklefish. And then Robotality, who are the devs of Wargroove 2, went to Chucklefish and said, hey, we've got an idea for Wargroove, and we think we can, you know, make a game out of it. It makes it feel like this is kind of an extended DLC, and I know that's not a nice thing to say because there already was DLC, which was Wargroove Double Trouble. But yeah, it feels like these are 5 campaigns that were created by a bunch of fans of the original game, and they thought, oh yeah, we can totally tweak things up and make things different, and they filled in a story to justify those kinds of things as well. But it's not like the entire whole... I guess it's the saying, it's this game is less than the sum of its parts in some ways. But again, I'm speaking only from the perspective of the campaign. Obviously, you can do custom campaigns. Well, I guess I haven't actually downloaded them, so, you know, let's see extras, jukebox, codex, custom content. Let's have a look. So, the thing is that I also think that Wargroove 1, again, coming at a time when it did, it was in the right time for it, in that people didn't have Advance Wars, they didn't have a turn-based strategy game like this, and it was marketed very well, it was in the right time at the right place. And here, Wargroove 2 just doesn't seem to have that same level of interest. Like, I've seen online, there are not many other people playing Wargroove 2. There are not many people, like, so how many maps have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe that's limited to 10 on the browsing screen, but that's not a lot. Oh, it's 66 pages. Oh, good. So that's my fault. So there are actually more player-generated content than I thought was. Okay, so fair enough. But you can kind of see what I'm getting at. There is not a lot of interest in Wargroove 2 compared to the original game. Or at least that's my perception of it. So, and it's a shame, because obviously I like Wargroove, I like seeing more Wargroove, and obviously I like playing it. But yeah, it feels like this is gonna underperform relative to Wargroove 1, which is a shame, because, like I said, the story stuff that they did add, as in playable, you know, dialogue and plot, essentially, the mechanics changes, the balancing of the grooves. The introduction of super grooves was great, I thought. And then I only ever used like 6, if that, during the entire game. So, but I don't know. And again, I'm speaking from someone who is not a online multiplayer gamer. So obviously, you could be doing lots of online battles with people. So yeah. Oh, okay. Apparently, I got a new rating. Sure. But yeah, so seems like there's only a few public lobbies, and again, this type of game will be set up with Discord and things to say, hey, we're going to have a Wargroove, I guess, tournament multiplayer thing. So, but yeah. So, like I said, I think that will wrap up our time with Wargroove 2.